to me. I call it my adventure story. When I was 18, or maybe 20, actually, and I had run a travel agency for a year, I got this opportunity, they used to do this back then, to take a trip nearly anywhere. And so I picked Egypt. And I went with my mom, and I had this great adventure, because I was very romantic, 20, I think we all are, aren't we? And if we can be. When we got there, we were staying, they were taking us, they were showing us at that point the wonderful tourist things that they could show us. And so they took us to the pyramids of Giza, which were amazing. But they, did it every day, like for 3 days. So I think the third day, I said to this wonderful young man who was leading the camel, I said, look, can you not take me there again? Let's go to your home, or someplace. Take me someplace you know. And he did. He took me to his home, and it was this really beautiful home that was an open courtyard had an open courtyard in the center. And for anyone who hasn't been to Egypt, it was like 120 degrees there. And I saw how they kept things cool, because we drank. There was something. They kept their water underground, really, and it was quite an amazing thing, because the earth under the earth was cooler. And his family was rather well-to-do. They had a couple of horses, beautiful white Arabian horses. And so I made an arrangement with his uncle, who to me looked like Lawrence of Arabia, And the arrangement I made was to meet him at dusk in the camel pit, and he would take me on a horseback ride at sundown across the desert. And so I was there at sundown. I did not, of course, tell my mother, because she wouldn't let me go. So I just met him there, and he brought 2 beautiful horses at sundown. And I got on my horse, and he got on his, and I followed, and I could see that this man was like one with the horse. He just, and I also found out, because growing up in Brooklyn, I thought that, and mostly watching cartoons, I thought that, all deserts were flat. Well, clearly, this desert is not flat, and it was beautifully up and down sand dunes. It had rocky sections, and so we went, and now I understand why the Arabian horses are white, because the only way you can possibly see anything at night is if the moon reflects on your horse. I can't imagine what they do when the moon is not there. I guess they just know it. And so we rode around the desert. We stopped at an oasis, and we had some mint tea. And then we rode some more. And the only thing I asked that we do is stop at a place where I could get some sand and bring it back with me. And he told me there was a very special place that we could get some sand. And I said, because I kept saying, well, I could just get some sand here. And he said, well, we have to go to this special place. And so we did. I still don't know why it was special, but he said, here's where you'll get sand. And so I did. And he gave me his handkerchief, and I put sand in it. And we were out on that desert for 6 hours. And it was an amazing thing. So we got back to the hotel, and it was it was a great adventure. Now the next morning when I tried to stand up, and because my mother thought that I had been kidnapped, I was terrified when I got back. I was furious at me, but it didn't matter. I didn't care. So we went to sleep that night, and the next morning when I went to get out of bed, I couldn't actually sit up in bed because I was so sore. And I pretty much, and also, I think that the mint tea hadn't actually been boiled, so I got, the dreaded thing that you get when you go to countries and drink the water that you're not supposed to drink. And I didn't care. I kept saying I didn't care. It was worth it. It was my great adventure. But I think that story really carried me through. That whole experience in Egypt was in certain ways a bit of a metaphor for me. forever, because I think that it was a risk. I may not have known what a big risk it was, but it was successful. And I think that it was one way of learning that risk-taking for me was a wonderful thing to do.